Welcome to the rant, rave in America, people. Today we are back inside. Yes, last time I did a video, we were outside. It was a really good fucking day. It was beautiful outside, 6, 7 degrees. I was having fun. I know it was short and sweet. That's why tonight we are going to have a very special guest. We're actually going to get down to it today and knock on some hardcore subjects. The one that I have found most interesting tonight is this is through unofficial channels, unofficial. All right. I have been paying attention to news feeds all day long. No other news companies are caught onto this. CNN, Fox, no one else has. Again, unofficial. But this comes from the ambassador of Russia. As his words are, quote unquote, anyone else in power, he would not be in Ukraine. Again, Putin would not be in Ukraine if anyone else right now was a president. He is not afraid of the U.S. Now that to me strikes a fucking chord. That strikes a chord. Is our president that weak? Is he that weak? That if it was anybody else, he would not be in Ukraine. Now, I do want to bring in, again, very special guest here. He is a fellow Marine. He served, I think, 2 tours? Was it 2 tours? 4 tours. 4 tours. I'm very sorry. Retired from the Marines. We call him Pops, affectionately known in our community as Pops. Please welcome him.
Thank you for having me on today.
You're welcome. Your take on that. So, according to the ambassador, if it was anybody else, he's not. Putin isn't afraid of the U.S.
Putin is afraid of the U.S. That's why he's always, when he looks at the cameras and everything else, that he's turned away. He has denied any responsibility for any precautions that he has taken, especially with the sanctions and everything else. He just, he knew the U.S. would get involved, besides being close to there, which he is, and he just has no regard for human life.
And you think Biden's going to stop him from continuing this war out there?
Biden is trying, especially with NATO, but we've already equipped the Ukrainian soldiers and several civilians with training and military artillery, and it's just that he don't think that the U.S. is going to try to help Ukraine stop him, but I just know that he's wrong in that. And
Oh, definitely.
Ukraine is not going to give up, even though you have seen a lot of refugees leave the country. It's been women and kids and older male.
Now, it's interesting you bring that up. I want to bring up one point there. It's interesting you bring that up. Now, we have watched through the media.
Yes.
Y'all know me. I'm a hardcore Republican. I will say it, fake news. That we hear that they're leaving, the refugees, but yet we see, you have to pay attention, Ukraine is fighting back. And even Putin himself today, I came on my news feed, he said, just stop fighting. Just stop fighting. Roll over. Now, who are we supposed to believe there? Should we believe the media that says, hey, they're fleeing, they're scared? Or is Ukraine actually fighting back?
The only thing that you can believe in the media, which a lot of it's fake news, when Trump was in office and after he left, there's still fake news, and there's fake news before Trump took office. But the news only wants to show you what they want to show you. The reports, 90% of them, even though you see it on the news, is all fake. Um, and people will say, well, how can he say that? Well, let me tell you, I served 36 years in the military, and I've seen it, and I've heard it from my own generals. Before I worked my up in the ranks, but let me tell you, I've seen it and I've heard it. A lot of the news you see now with the Ukrainians leaving, it is true. About the daughters and the mothers and the grandmothers and the aunts that are leaving, nieces that are leaving, but they have a choice. The women that are age appropriate, they can fight, but since Ukraine is part of Russia, and it is, the women have a choice. But then also they're the only parent left, so they have to go because they have other family members like aunts, sisters, grandparents that can raise the kids. But there's health conditions. But like I said, 90% of it is real. But then there's that other 9 to 10% that is fake news. And with this, I've seen it. I know how it goes now, and I know how it's reported. And I'm speaking the truth. And if everybody wants to call me a liar and everything else, I just want to say, let them go 1 year in the military, no matter what branch you serve, no matter if you're recognized or not. If you're CIA, FBI, regular military, Coast Guard, to the Marine Corps, like I was, it's reported all the time, but you can only so much. And I don't mind getting in trouble because I know how it is, and I've been there and I've done that.
Well, I'm pretty sure right now, for the question I'm about to ask, if I was in the court of law in the House and the Senate, they'd be like, leading, Your Honor. But let me lead you on this here. What I was trying to say, in your opinion, though, is should we believe the media?
You should not believe the media as of right now. But that's why I was giving you statistics. That's why I was telling you of how many women and children that are leaving. And yes, the husband and grandfather. Well, grandfathers, I mean, but it's up to a certain point. But like I said, you should not really believe the media because they're going to give you stats and stuff of how they want you to believe it. And like right now, everybody's seen the news media, and they've seen it on ABC, NBC, and CNN, and Fox News, and all the other affiliates that they want you to believe this. But I'm just saying it's not really how it. I mean, it is what it is, but that's not how it is. They just want to tell you something. It just. I mean, and like Americans are supporting Ukrainians, which I believe, but it's not up to the people of the United States. As a civilian, they can explore their.
So they're
where I'm going.
Yeah, I think I do. I think what you're saying is they're going to use the Ukrainian crisis to bolster their ratings, pretty much.
Yeah, and Americans can support them. That's great. That's fine. I believe in that because there's your Ukrainian American citizens over here that have a right to be over here that support them, and we're supporting them because they're in our local churches, local government, and everything else. But then on the other hand, you gotta leave, and not everybody trusts our government, from Maryland to California to Florida to Texas to here in Central Illinois. So I can see that, and I've been there. I can see where people are coming from.
And is it safe to say that under Trump we understand what it is to be American, but now under Biden we actually truly know what it means to be bonded as Americans?
We're more bonded as Americans under Biden, and people knew what American was under Trump. We were bonded when Trump was in office, and that's the truth. I'm not the only person that knows and says this.
Well, I agree with you there, brother.
But under Biden, we're more bonded now than what we were before.
Because we have to be, though.
And that's just like a lot of people out there that are watching. I wasn't around then, believe me. I am Republican through and through, but FDR was Democrat. But back before I was born, FDR led people through 2 Great Depressions, led them through 2 attacks, and then World War II hit. And he led people, Democrat and Republican, through that until he passed away before the end of his 4th term. That's why only presidents can serve 2 terms. But it's as the presidents that was before him, nobody took confidence that they can get through it. And it's like now, you're Democrat and Republican. Like now, you can always tell from when Bush was in office, and then when Obama took office, and then Trump, and now Biden, all the percentages and all the statistics line up. Even though Biden was not in a war, he dealt with them. But He did not take the steps like Trump did. And just everybody, like I said, everybody's different, Republican or Democrat. But there's Democrats to this day, right now, after Biden got in office, they wish he was out.
Yeah, the polls show that too. He's down to what? 27, 37%
He's down.
disapproval rating?
He's down to 29.3%, and that was he was at 33% before the conflict in Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, and I do believe, folks, that is actually the lowest presidential rating ever for a president. I do believe.
He's already gave his State of the Union address, and everybody thought his ratings and everything would go up, but it didn't. It went down.
No, and that's because, honestly, the presidents think that the State of the Union address is going to address their first year of presidency. No, it doesn't. Your actions prove your first year of presidency. And let's be honest, folks, the worst disaster so far this president's fucking faced, it's not Ukraine. It's Afghanistan. There was no withdrawal. There was no strength in our part whatsoever. We abandoned Afghanistan. We bailed, and we left, what, millions of equipment over there.
We left as when Biden pulled everybody out. The last tally was, and it was close to $33 billion. That was military equipment. That was guns, to ammo, to medical supplies, food,
and don't
support for everybody's church and daycare and everything. Biden, with that, I agree with him pulling everybody out. And also, he kind of screwed the American military. He really did, because, well, we should have been taken out. Yes, withdrew from all that, but he left a lot of sorrow, regret from those people.
And there is talk inside military ranks that if Trump was president, the withdrawal was there, but it was going to be from a strength of position.
It was. Biden didn't leave with strength of position. He didn't. He just left it up for grabs, and that's why before Ukraine and Russia's conflict have hit, that's where the main problem was, and it's still going on today. There's inklings there to where Putin's involved with Iran, Afghanistan, Russia, Persia, and several continents over that way that if he don't get what he wants, it's going to get worse. It's just the way it is. And people are going to ask on this channel, like, well, how this, whatever, like, oh, well, how could somebody say that or whatever else?
And as you guys know, you're free to comment on this channel. We don't hold anything against you. And if you are one of those offended people, though, we'll be happy to hand your shit back to you. We don't take any crap in this channel. We'll hand it back. But you are more than welcome to your opinions.
I say this in confidence, and I know, but I'm not going to be the only person that's going to be on his channel that can verify that I've talked. Him and I talk back and forth. I watch news. I get news feeds all the time, even though I'm retired. There's some stuff I cannot comment on, but some things I can freely comment on, and I can allow him access to that. I've showed. So,
one of the questions a bunch of our viewers out there are dying to know right now, and you are still in contact with a bunch of our military folk. Thank you very much. God bless you guys for your service. What is the state and mind of our military right now?
Right now, it's in chaos, but there's 87% of, and then, well, if you were to look at it, there's 26% of the Coast Guard and Navy that don't agree with what's going on. But there's 13.7% that agree what's going on.
To cut you short though now, I just want to bring this up real quick. The Navy,
So
not
you're
the
just
strongest branch in the military right now. I mean, they've come underneath a lot of fire.
Yeah.
A lot of fire. Do you think it's called for, or is it really, should we pay attention to what's being said about the Navy, or?
Yes, because they can provide more than just our watercraft and our carriers and everything else. Because they can provide your air support. They provide several besides what the Marines and Army have, but they provide your amphibious vehicles as well as recon with that. Like along with the Marines, we work with the Navy SEALs, and we work with the Coast Guard for detection. But they're involved because they can do recon that even though the Marines does have, but also that's what a lot of them is looking for.
So not to put words in your mouth, but what you're saying is even though the Navy's under fire right now, it's still a very reputable branch of this armed forces.
Yes, and I know that. And like I said, it's just their percentage is low and believing because of what's happened. They still believe on what we can go forth with. Because there's a lot of countries like Russia and like Ukraine, for example, or like Iraq and other countries like so forth, are not, they have the naval fleet, but they don't have as much as what the Americans have. We can go do more than what they can because their budgets will allow for it, but with their system, they only put so much toward that.
That's funny you mentioned that because Biden keeps saying, speaking of budgets, the sanctions that we're putting on Russia, they're going to do the job. Do we really feel confident in that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they've already been sanctioned on like their banking, of their oil and gas, but there's still sanctions that can be put in. But Russia will still fit through that because there's a lot of their billionaires and everything that's over there that can still provide money even though you cut your sanctions off.
So what Trump said during CPAC, where you go, so Biden's sanctioning Russia. Nixon says you've been sanctioning us for years. That's your best move you got. So he's right on that. Sanctions aren't really going to hurt Russia.
Not really. They'll still have 3 or 5% according to law, and so we can only do so much. So like right now, what sanctions that have been placed and that are being in place right now, they're still going to have 3 to 5% revenue. They're still going to have some way of doing something because we can only do so much because Europe has provided sanctions, but not to the full extent. So they're still going to be able to have factories open to build tanks or missiles, guns, and stuff like that.
So if the sanctions don't work, then should U.S. troops be in Ukraine? Should we put our boots on the ground?
I think we have a right because of NATO, and we're one of their main benefactors in that. Otherwise than that, I don't think we should be involved because that's between them and a neighboring country.
But yet you have Ukraine, who has been petitioning NATO to become an independent country in NATO, and now you got Putin because the NATO's been going, well, we don't know, and they've been doing this for what, 5-10 years now.
Yes.
And now Putin's going, no, just no. Tell him no.
But no, Putin can't because already you got close to 30% of Ukraine in Europe continents anyway. So anyway, just like it's been reported on the news, but they said Europe turned it down. The Ukraine applied to be rescued in Europe. But so Putin's going after that 79 to 80%. He don't have that right. He does, but only up to 60%. But he's getting close to that. So I mean, he can't really do anything. I mean, he can, but he can't.
All right, and I'm going to ask you this question. I think you do better than Kamala Harris did. In layman's terms, for our viewers out there that don't understand the technicality of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know for a fact you're not going to treat us like 2-year-olds. In layman's terms, why does Putin's demands not fit in to you just got to tell him no?
I'm going to say 2 words for you. Hitler's complex. And if somebody says, well, what's that? That's what Hitler did back when World War II hit, back in 39. Hitler tried it in 33. It didn't work. It took him almost 7 years, and then it didn't get him nowhere. Putin's been trying it for 20, and he's just flat out trying to say, well, this is a part of Russia. Ukraine's part. Yes, it is, but they're an independent country. But you've only got 79% that's his, and the other 20.5% belongs to Europe.
So basically, there, folks, it is you are your own country, and your country gets to decide your own rules. No other country gets to govern that for you. Correct?
Yes. And
Just make sure you're on the same page there.
Yeah.
You thanks, sir.
But no, it's just like Putin's been doing this for years, even when Clinton was in office. And he just waited to the right time. Yeah, Biden's weak as hell. Pardon my language, people out there, but Biden is weak as hell. And he just waited. But then also, if I'm out of script, you can shut me off.
By the way, but Biden thinks we love his hairy legs.
But Biden didn't know this, and if I'm out of line, you can cut me off in the middle of it. Putin agreed with North and South Korea and China to wait until the middle through or after the Paralympics. It's been reported, it's been proven. He can pause it if he wants to.
It's not just that. His timing was down fucking perfect. Oh, I totally agree with you. It wasn't perfect. And even when Trump was asked about it, they go, "Is Putin smart? Did he actually do the right thing?" And Trump goes, "Yeah, he's smart." Everyone went, "Oh,
he was smart.
No, he is totally. I mean, goddamn fucking genius.
But Putin's smart, but also, like, I'm a Trump supporter, but Trump did not verify or decline about what Putin was doing and why it took so long, because he knew his lips were shut. Like with Putin, so he could say, "Oh no, I'm going to attack this or that way."
There's a lot of
but also
verbalization there that was going on between Trump and Putin, but Trump, he was right on this. Underneath, what was it? I think it was Clinton. Putin invaded Georgia. Underneath Obama, I can't remember the exact country, but Russia invaded again. Underneath Trump's administration, Russia never made a fucking move. And now here we are underneath Biden. Here's Russia making a move. Now I do think Trump was right. Underneath his administration, Russia never did shit.
But
now, like I said, Democrats have been that, oh, well, there was also Russia collusion, but
well,
the man's got a point.
Look at the bad pigs. That was Republican.
No, wasn't that Kennedy?
Kennedy was in office, but he went by Johnson, which was Democrat. And he also, 92% of the vote was Republican. And I am a Republican, and I didn't agree with it, but I wasn't around him. But when I researched and did the artifacts and everything else, that's what is Bay of Pigs, you know. And that's like when Carter was in office, they had it going, and it wasn't called the Bay of Pigs. But he also went against Iraq. At that time, a lot of people said, "What the fuck's Iraq?"
But the Bay of Pigs invasion, I really love to use that one. I'm sorry, I really do. I really get him whenever he brings that up, because I'm like, okay, really? 9/11? The Taliban? How do you think that'll happen? Bay of Pigs, Russia invaded. We armed them with fucking our hardware. We taught them how to fucking use it. What happens? Eons down the road, oh, they use it against us.
Before that, because it was before that.
But
you go back to Nixon when the Korean War and the Vietnam War was going on. Nixon he was in office, but he wasn't president when he was in office. But he had a lot of influence with the Kennedy family and with other voters. And that's why it lasted so long until Nixon got into office. When he first started going over there offering support. We were in a full-fledged gunfight.
And I'm going to ask the question. I know you're all clamoring. I'm going to ask it. With everything that we have brought up, at what point does our interference go, hey, wait the fuck up. Wait up. At what point does the U.S. quit interfering with the rest of the fucking world?
And we shouldn't be involved in a lot of stuff. That's like with the Korean War. We shouldn't be involved in that. We shouldn't be involved in the Vietnam War. Shouldn't be involved in that. The only reason why we were in World War II is because it was pretty much a declaration of war on us. Because Germany was on its way out and China thought they could finish the job.
Now, even though we got involved and we created the war bonds, and pretty much now we are the international banking community of the world, which I would like to know how the hell we owe everybody else. That's fucking funny. We'll get that to a whole new episode. But can we still pull out from what we did in World War II? Or would we be able to do that? Or would the world fucking
We should have been
collapse?
out of years ago, but like my grandfather told me, and my great uncles and stuff, and other family members, like they said, China, even though we win the war, the Great War, Japan and China will always own our ass. And that's to this day, even though we have not been in a conflict or any kind of situation or anything. It's like that now because of trade deals and shit, and it shouldn't be like that.
And it's not just him, it's even fucking Europe. Now, although I do think this is my opinion, people. Do not get offended, especially if you're from Europe, you can go home. The king and queen of Europe, I'm pretty sure they take the fucking tariffs and they take everything from us because we whooped their fucking ass and showed us that we can be independent from you. So I'm pretty sure another half take our fucking money. Yet here we are still defending them too.
Even back in the day, like the Tea Party and everything else, but also like in World War II, like with Winston Churchill, but also there's some extent to where they're getting just a tad percentage of our money, but not like it used to be. Back in the day when King and Queen was there, remember, yeah, there's Queen Elizabeth, they, Sir Charles died and all them, but it's just like you can't. They're getting money from us, yes, but then also they're in debt to us forever, and we're getting more money from them than they are getting from us.
Now the built to all these questions, and the reason why we did it, because I want an honest opinion. And again, you have talked to all the veterans out there. They're getting all this damn money, and I think Trump had a point on this. When do they start paying it back into NATO? When do they start paying it back in and start paying it for their defense? They're taking it from us. Where do they start paying it back in?
They're not. That's just like the World Health Organization.